Welcome back to the channel. I'm Tony the Technician, and today we're going to be going into all of my 1/4" drive ratchets. So we're going to have more videos coming here soon of my 3/8 drive ratchets, all of the different brands that I have, all of the different sizes, their features, all of that. Today, specifically 1/4" drive, I'll go over the brands that I have, the tooth counts on them. You'll be able to see the overall design differences, my thoughts on each one, kind of which ones are my favorites, which ones have the least back drag. So not super in-depth because this video could be extremely long. In-depth enough to hopefully give you guys an idea of what you would prefer in a 1/4" drive ratchet. Some of these were sold in sets, some of them were purchased individually. I'll let you guys know that, whether it was an individual ratchet that I purchased or if it was purchased with another 3/8 and 1/2" drive ratchet. And I'll just kind of share as much information as possible. Now we do have, I believe, 13 different 1/4" drive ratchets. So I don't know if I'll have the prices for all of them. I'll have a majority of them linked down in the description for you guys. Some of them may be in sets if that's the way I purchase them. With the 13 different ratchets, we have 8 different brands. So quite a different array of brands and ratchets as far as sizes and features and all of that. So I really hope you guys enjoy. If you guys have any questions on any of these, please feel free to drop a comment down below. If you guys would like to see videos like this of any other sort of tool, please let me know down in the comments. But if you guys enjoy, please make sure to smash that thumbs up. Leave a comment down below of your guys' thoughts or what ratchets you guys really enjoy. And as always, if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, so getting into this, here you can see all of my 1/4" drive ratchets. They are lined up from shortest to the longest. I'll go through, tell you what the ratchets are. I'll tell you tooth count, overall length for the majority of them. I don't know if I'll give prices on all of them. I don't remember all of them, but I will try to have as many of them linked down in the description for you guys as possible. And then after I show you each one, we're gonna have 3 categories. It's gonna be the smoothest ratchets, the top 4 smoothest ratchets, or the ones with the least back drag, the top 3 with the most features, and then the top 4 of my favorite 1/4" drive ratchets. So over here we have the non-flex head Gearwrench 120 XP. We have the Carlyle, then we have the Ulsa Tools, then we have the King Dick, the Tekton semi-locking flex head, the Snap-on, the Tekton non-flex head, Gearwrench 90 tooth, Capri 90 tooth, Gearwrench semi-locking flex head, the Gearwrench 84 tooth locking flex head, the Milwaukee 90 tooth locking flex head, and the Capri Tools extra long locking flex head. So the Gearwrench is one of my first ratchets. I had, some Pittsburghs and some others back in the day, some Stanleys, out of socket sets. Those are long gone. But like when I finally started putting together a toolbox, when I was getting ready to get out of the Army back in 2015, I got out in 2016. And finally started putting some together. And the Gearwrench 120 XPs and the 84 tooths were some of my first ratchets. And honestly, I really enjoy them. I understand they're not for everybody. Not everybody enjoys the 120 XP design. I personally do. I haven't had any issues with them. No back drag issues, no binding issues, nothing like that. They do have a new design, and they have changed a couple times over the last, 5 to 10 years. But I think I have 7 of the 120 XP ratchets, and they've all been fantastic. They actually have a 60 tooth main gear and dual pawls, which create an alternating effect, which create 120 positions. There you can see it creates a 3-degree arc swing, which they've stamped into the reverse lever. And they are nice slim ratchets as well. The Gearwrench does use the snap ring on the back plate, which I find tends to, allow more debris and dirt into the ratchet. But once again, haven't really had any issues. I'd say probably about 2 times a year I take my ratchets apart and I clean them and lubricate them. So they've held up really well. But this one comes in at 5 inches. So really nice for tight work. Underneath dashes, small engine-based stuff, underneath car, it's handy in a lot of different spaces where you're finding yourself with tight restrictions. So especially with that 120 XP low arc swing, it can definitely be handy. So here's a listen at the 120 XP. Then next up we have the Carlyle and I believe this is a 60 tooth. I've had this one since 2017, 2018 time frame. This one, once again, is also right around that 5 inches, 5 1/16. Nice recessed reverse switch, slim design. I would say it's almost identical to the Gearwrench 120 XP. I'm not going to go through with my caliper and check all of these. I will state which ones are thicker, but these are very, very slim. And the backing plate on this does have a sealed backing plate, and the fasteners come from the top side of the ratchet. Very small, just like the Gearwrench, but this being the 60 tooth, great ratchet. Here is the Ulsa Tools. This is a 90 tooth roto head ratchet. I've had the Gearwrench, the Pittsburgh, and there was another one that I had way back in the day. Roto head ratchets, I like the design as far as its functionality, like what it can do, what you can accomplish with it. But I find that a lot of the roto head ratchets just have an enormous amount of back drag. I don't know if it has to do with the actual like internals and how the ratcheting mechanism works, but I just find a lot of them to have a lot of back drag. So I don't use them all that often, but the Ulsa Tools is probably the best one that I've used so far, and I've been happy with. It's nice because you can still work in tight spaces with this, you can work in awkward spaces with it, and you can also use it as like a speed driver. So that's really nice. It is adjustable. Now, the roto head ratchets do tend to be a bulkier design, and then the reverse lever on a lot of them do stick up quite a bit. There are some out there that actually recess it down a little bit, but also Tools, this roto head ratchet does have a little bit of a bulkier design, but you do have a lot of different angle there that you can achieve with this thing. So the tension on the fork is also adjustable there. And before I move on, I want to state the Gearwrench 120 XP was purchased in a 4-piece, well, this one was in a 3-piece set. This one was bought individually. This one was bought in a 3-piece set. Listen at the 90 tooth. Then the King Dick, this is a 60 tooth as well, I believe. Very small head. Not necessarily the shortest, still very short, coming in at 5 5/8 inches long. It's a little bit thinner than the Gearwrench and Carlyle, and the head size compared to a lot of my other 1/4-inch drive is very impressive. It's a very small 1/4-inch drive. And there you can see the reverse lever is recessed nicely. The overall design, it's got kind of a square shaft up here before you get into the handle portion that's rounded. And honestly, I don't even remember where I got this or when I got this, but it's been a fantastic little ratchet. Then moving on, we have the Tekton. This is the semi-locking flex head. This is one of their first designs. They did improve upon their locking mechanism, or their semi-locking mechanism, because a lot of the first gens had a really loose spring tension, so it was really easy to move, and it was kind of a con more than anything. And so I actually went in and put a spacer beneath the spring to see if that would tighten it up, and it did seem to help. And then shortly after that, I think they realized it was a complaint, and they had actually gone through and stiffened up some of their semi-locking flex heads. But Tekton only offers either your standard design or a semi-locking. They don't have a locking flex head as of yet, but it is a 90 tooth. And I really enjoy the Tekton ratchets. I don't think, there's not really a ratchet here that I don't like. I've basically gotten rid of any ratchets that I don't like. There is 9 positions that this ratchet can sit in. That one comes in at 6.5 inches. If you look on the Tekton website, they measured theirs though from the drive to the base, since this is the amount of torque you would be getting from here to the end of the ratchet. But next up is the snap-on. I actually bought this for my son the year he was born, in 17, and I'll eventually give this to him. I do use this every once in a while, but I try not to, just because I want to be able to give it to him as
kind of a new tool and something for him to remember. So the snap-on design is a little bit bulkier than some of my other ratchets. The Gearwrench, the Carlyle, the King Dick, the Tekton, they're all thinner than the snap-on. The snap-on head is a little bit thicker, but it is a nice low, small profile, and the handle is really thin. So you can still get in a lot of tight spaces. It is a very durable and strong ratchet. The reverse lever is not recessed, but overall a great little ratchet. And this one comes in at 6.5 inches as well, so the same as the Tekton over here. And then the next one up is the Tekton non-flex head, 90 tooth. Once again, same overall design, size, the only difference being that it doesn't have that flex portion. And with this, the back plate is sealed and you can see the Torx there. The snap-on is the same way, sealed on this side with the fasteners on the back side. Then next up we have the Gearwrench 90 tooth comfort grip ratchet. This one I've had for a couple years now. It's been great. And they had the 72 tooth ratchets back in the day. Then they had the 84 tooth ratchets. Then they came out with the 120 XP, and then they went back to a 90 tooth. They still provide the 90 tooth. They still provide a 120 XP design. I don't think they make the 84 tooth design anymore. I'm not 100% sure on that, but 90 tooth is kind of their go-to now. But this one is an overall length of 6 3/4 inches. The handle's really nice. They've changed it over the years as well. This is kind of their go-to color combo now for all of their picks, screwdrivers, ratchets, things like that. And it is a very comfortable handle. This one doesn't have it, but like I believe the 3/8 and 1/2 inch drive does. You can see it on this design. It's kind of a little recessed area to fit your fingers in, but this one is just round on the 1/4 inch drive, and it does have a recessed reverse switch. Then moving on is the Capri 90 tooth ratchet. I have a 3-piece set of these. Sorry, I'm falling behind. This was an individual purchase. The Tekton was an individual purchase. The snap-on was an individual purchase. The Tekton was an individual purchase. The Gearwrench 90 tooth was a 3-piece set purchased, and the Capri was also a 3-piece set that I purchased. And a lot of the times with the majority of these brands, you can save a little bit of money by buying the set version. I do like the comfort grip handle. It's kind of got a little bit different shape to it, but it is still very, very comfortable in the hand. And I have a in-depth video on a lot of these ratchets, so if you guys want to see something more in-depth, go ahead and check my channel out for an in-depth video on it. If not, let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to make another video if you want to see a comparison of just like 2 ratchets torn down, whatever that may be. Whatever you guys want, I can work on it. The Gearwrench, I forgot to show, does have that same backing plate as the 120 XP with the snap ring. The Capri uses a sealed back with the fasteners here in the backing plate. Great chrome job. The reverse level isn't recessed, but it is a pretty low profile. So like if you compare it to the snap-on one does stick up a little ways, but a little bit lower profile, a little bit slimmer here. Next up, we have the Gearwrench 120 XP semi-locking flex head. This has 7 different positions it holds in, so a couple less positions than the Tekton flex heads. But it is nice and stiff in each one of those positions. It does a very good job with the ball detent in the bottom of here. You can't really see it all that well, where the Tekton uses like this detent plate with teeth on it. And there's the backing plate. I really enjoy the 120 XP design. Nice, once again, flush, reverse lever, or recessed. I wouldn't say, flush, but, getting there. Nice and smooth. This one is definitely lubricated. I think this one needs re-lubricated. This one definitely feels and sounds a little bit drier than my locking or my flex head version. The Gearwrench 84 tooth, this was one of the first ones that I purchased. I don't use them all that much anymore just because they sit in a different drawer. Not because there's anything wrong with them or anything like that. All of these have been great. But this is the locking flex head. There's like 11 positions to this, but you can't lock them in all. Like you can't lock it in this 90-degree position because the locking mechanism just runs into the head of the ratchet. But once you get to right about there, you can actually lock it in. And this is the same kind of locking mechanism that you'll find on like the Matco, but the Matco I believe is recessed, and there's a little bit of a difference to them, but overall the same design. Here is the 84 tooth. Still very smooth, feels good, little back drag, and it's got some decent length to it as well. That's why I have this in a 2-piece set. It's a 3/8 with some length, and then this 1/4 inch with some length. This one comes in at 8 1/4 inches long. Then we have the Milwaukee locking flex head. This is one of my more recent purchases. I would say I bought this last year, the beginning of last year or somewhere around that time. It's got a couple small defects like over here on the edge in the chrome, or actually in the material, but overall this is a fantastic ratchet. I want to say I paid something like somewhere around $50 or $60 for it, which is quite expensive for a 1/4 inch drive ratchet, but it's got extra length. It's got a locking flex head. It's a really smooth 90 tooth design. And it's been one of my go-tos since I purchased it. I've been extremely happy with this ratchet, and I have a full review on this one as well, I believe. And I like this locking mechanism because, not just because of its position, but it's spring-loaded, so when you move it to the middle, you can move the head of the ratchet, but it'll snap back, or you can push it all the way over and it's a free floating flex head. I absolutely love this design, one of my favorite locking mechanisms that I've came across, and I think Milwaukee did a great job on this. There you can see the backing plate. I believe they call it their 9-inch ratchet, but it actually comes in at 8 7/8, but still really, really nice little ratchet. There you can kind of see the design on the handle. And then my most recent one is the Capri. This came in a 3-piece set. This one was bought individually. This came in a 3-piece set with a extra long 3/8 and an extra long 1/2 inch. I have a full review on that as well. And these things are fantastic. Now it doesn't have a free floating section because you have to press and hold the button in order to float it, but it does snap into each position really nicely. And the Capri has 9 different locking positions. And this button does stick up quite a ways, but I haven't found it to be a hindrance or anything, or it's not like the Snap-on where you're bumping it on something and then, you know, either locking or unlocking the ratchet. It does a very good job of holding its position, and it's a very smooth ratchet as well. 90 tooth. Very little back drag on this, and I absolutely love the length on all 3 that came in the set, and they're very affordable for something with these features and this length. Like it's a really good deal. So if you haven't, check out that video. But let me go ahead and go over the categories. So first up, we're going over the smoothest, the top 4 smoothest and or least back drag that I feel. The number 4, this is definitely one of my smoothest ratchets. And without feeling it next to the others, I would have said this was my smoothest ratchet. But after lining them all up and actually feeling them out, it's not. But I absolutely love this thing. Very, very nice, smooth, and very low back drag on that ratchet. In third is actually the King Dick. This is a 60 tooth. So it's a little bit louder, a little bit, you know, larger teeth, but a smaller tooth count, but overall very, very little back drag. In second, we have the Capri, and actually this one has a little bit less back drag with the flex head version over the non-flex head. They're roughly the same, but if I were to, you know, just go based off of how they feel right now, I would say this has a little bit less back drag, and it feels like this one is definitely lubricated more. I've had this one for about a year longer, and I haven't had these very long, and when I tore them down, they are lubricated very well. And then first up, the one that is the smoothest and least back drag, which surprised me, is actually my Carlyle. I do love this ratchet, but I was very surprised to feel that this has the least amount of back drag out of all my ratchets. It takes almost 0 effort to get to that next tooth. absolutely fantastic ratchets and ones that aren't talked about very often. The top three with the most features, third is going to be, once again, the Milwaukee with its locking mechanism. Absolutely love it. The different positions, the extra length, just a great overall design. Second is the Gearwrench. So I don't use this one as often, and this is just their 84 tooth, but they do have the 120 and 90 tooth, I believe, with the same features, a better locking mechanism. But this one does have a locking mechanism, lots of different locking positions, extra length, the comfort grip. So the only reason this one was ahead of the Milwaukee is just because it has an additional feature of the comfort grip over the Milwaukee. And then first up is the Capri. You have all of the same features that the other two do, but with even more length. So that is number one as far as most features. And then my favorites. Fourth is going to be the Carlyle, just because of how small it is, how thin it is, how little back drag it has, and how smooth it is. The third is the King Dick. It's a little bit larger as far as length, but the head design is just amazing. So when you compare it to any of the other 1/4 inch drive ratchets, it's just got a tiny head on it. So you can get into a lot of tight spaces with this. Second place is going to be the Capri, which I absolutely love. But it's a newer ratchet to me, so I'm trying to use it more. But once again, these are extra long. A majority of the time I'll grab this, but when I do need it, I go for the Capri extra longs, so they just don't get used as much, and I haven't had them as long. And then first, it's kind of a toss-up between my Milwaukee and my Gearwrench 120 XP semi-locking flex head. I absolutely love the length here. I love the locking. And sometimes I like a different flex head style. Sometimes I like free floating. Sometimes I like locking. It all depends on what I'm doing, where I'm working, if I'm applying a lot of torque to something. And then sometimes I just like a semi-locking flex head. So these two have been great. I've had this one for maybe a year and a half, and then this one I've had close to 8 years, and they are holding up extremely well. So I will try to have as many of these linked down in the description for you guys as possible. If you guys want to see a teardown video of any of these ratchets or a comparison of any of these 1/4 inch drive ratchets, I can do so. But stay tuned, I'll have a 3/8 drive video and a 1/2 inch drive video coming on all of my ratchets. So if you guys enjoyed, make sure to smash that thumbs up. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time.